So good morning, Albuquerque. Good morning, law enforcement and media. Reforming the police department to better attack crime from all sides has been one of the most important and difficult roads that lie ahead. Change began at the mayor's office just November 14th and continued yesterday with the swearing in of these chiefs behind me. Here today with us are Chief of Police Mike Geyer, our Deputy Chief Harold Medina, and Deputy Roger Banyas. They are charged with evaluating, restructuring, and turning around APD. Now, I want to do a couple of things this morning. I know we want to really hear from the chief, but I need to take care of a few things that I think are important in terms of starting out with a fresh start. And so, just to reflect that yesterday, folks from all walks of life attended a very special ceremony in the morning to swear these gentlemen in and to also honor one of our officers. And that in and of itself was actually very, very important for healing the community and for law enforcement. And these leaders that are behind me stand for improving overall safety for our places of business and for our families. Now, I also want to acknowledge where our city has been, and that our leaders have to face these problems head on. As you know, I'm a believer in community policing, and that includes one of the pillars of community policing, which is about truthfulness with the public. And in that spirit, I want to start by offering an apology on behalf of City Hall to our community. Our community deserves an apology for its historical tone at the top of the department and a culture of excessive force that has hurt our community. I also want to tell the victims of families who have been hurt by unnecessary use of force that I am sorry, and that we are sorry as your city government. We will work every day to restore trust in our community. Secondly, we also need to apologize for our skyrocketing crime rates. I have heard from hundreds of folks who don't feel safe and who worry about their families every day. And I want to acknowledge to all the victims of crime in this city and to all the families who have fell victim to crime that we have let you down in many ways. Public safety is a critical function of government, and we must do better. And it starts with owning up to where we're at today. Albuquerque, if we are committed to working together, we actually can attack crime from all sides by supporting law enforcement and by restoring trust in our community. To do that, the gentlemen behind me and my administration are committed to the following: bringing needed resources and backup to the men and women of law enforcement, recruiting and retaining officers, and fair and proportional promotion and discipline, restoring real block-by-block community policing and completing the DOJ reforms, reconciling use of force policies so that our frontline officers can actually be able to protect and serve our community, and bringing transparency and accountability to the public, other law enforcement agencies, the courts, oversight bodies, and advocacy groups. So with that, I would now like to introduce our Chief, Mike Geyer, to share a little bit about his vision for the department. Chief Geyer.
Thank you. As the mayor pointed out, we want to kind of talk about the direction the department's going. I mentioned yesterday in my speech that this is the new APD. And so, as the mayor said, his vision basically is the conceptual crime plan that he outlined during his campaign, but now we're going to put it operationally. And obviously this is only the first couple of days, so we're just drawing our plans right at this point. But basically, we're going to develop a multifaceted strategic plan. And those will include certain areas, components that right now I can't prioritize per se because they all tie in, but they're all equally important as far as we're looking at. And as you see, as I outline them, you'll draw the nexus between them. Obviously, the big issue we know. Okay. The big issue right now is crime. That has been brought to everybody's attention. Polls have shown that the majority of the public is concerned about this, and deservingly so. So that is going to be one of our first priorities. We're already working on trying to develop plans to do that. I have a meeting with the DA tomorrow. We have some programs that are in the works right now to develop more of a strategic citywide plan. However, one size doesn't fit all. If you recall in the Journal a while back, they outlined the areas of the city where there were problem areas. Every area has a different type of problem, a different type of nature, even different type of culture. So we're going to address those accordingly by the understanding of what that area needs. And that ties in with community policing, which is another pillar that we're going to be looking at. And it's not just the name community policing isn't just some public relations campaign. It actually has to be a philosophy that everybody in the department and everybody in the community understands, so that we can work together. Those partnerships and those collaborative meetings, whether it's with businesses, some of which have gone by the wayside in recent years, will be reestablished. And we're going to work to make that happen. Even to the level of the officers driving around in cars just being reactive, we're going to try to change that. We want them to do a lot of non-enforcement contacts, get to know the people in their neighborhoods, and address problems that exist there proactively. And the officers, I can assure you, are ready to do that. Obviously, in order to do some of this, one of our priorities has to be recruitment and retention. We want to hire quality people. We don't want to lower the standards by any means. Character-based is a big issue in terms of law enforcement, in terms of the trust that we build. As the mayor mentioned, one of the overall objectives here is to do just that, rebuild trust in the community. And trust is so important because without it, we have no legitimacy. The public gives us our authority. If they don't believe in us, then we're not going to be able to do our jobs, and there's no trust. So that all ties in. With recruiting and retention, obviously we have a shortage, but the officers are willing to do even more work right now. We're going to divide some of the responsibilities. People are going to have told me they're willing to take on extra duties, just so we can get that to that level. And we're going to make those adjustments this week. We're already starting in that direction. We want to talk about, in order to hire more people, the issue of pay and comparable pay will be brought in, but more importantly, a career development plan that allows officers to go through their careers, have different ways to increase their ability to be good police officers, and we find them the niche that they do, and they become quality long-term employees that would be a benefit not only to the police department but to the community as a whole. A big one, obviously, the DOJ compliance. We had a great teleconference yesterday with the monitor, Dr. Ginger, and I can't tell you how enthused I am that they're actually on board to help us achieve that. And so are we. It's full steam ahead as far as I'm concerned on that. We already had some discussions this morning in terms of the areas where we're deficient, and we're going to definitely attack that hard on right from the start. I can't give any hardcore timelines right now because we're still in those processes, and we had a great meeting yesterday, and all I can say in that regard is that is a huge priority. And then, as the mayor said, community policing again. We want to get back to that neighborhood type situation, and as I mentioned before, each neighborhood's different. So the partnerships with the people that actually live in those areas are going to be crucial, as well as problem solving. The police can do so much sometimes, but sometimes working with the problem solving, it may just be in an apartment complex, the screening of the people there, having lighting, all kinds of different solutions to simple little fixes can make a huge difference, rather than just have the police there and take repeated calls for service. Again, this is a compilation of a lot of different pillars, so to speak, and they're all interrelated. But we'll have people, the way the plan will go, the strategic plan is, there'll be facilitators and people responsible, directly held accountable for different components in that. And accountability and as the mayor said, transparency are going to be a big key. As I'm looking at the DOJ problems, I can identify where there's weak points right now. And we're going to hold people accountable and make sure that we get regular reports and things don't sit for long periods of time and months go by. The whole issue with not holding accountable is this is a big city, a lot of area commands, a lot of different areas in the police department. We don't want silo effects. It's one big team, one particular department holding together for one goal. And if we don't do that, we're not going to accomplish any goals. So a lot of within those pillars that I mentioned, there'll be goal settings, specific objectives. My staff will outline not only that, but also the activities that will be done to accomplish that. So I'll have a regular accountability of what's going on, how often they're doing it, and when things are accomplished. And if they'll set the timeline they set, we'll hold them to it as best we can. It's flexible to some extent, but we're going to move in that direction. No more dragging feet. It's so discouraging is when I hear whether it's from officers or staff members, we can't do this. We can't do that. Even officers on the street going to citizens and telling them, we can't do anything about it. No, the new philosophy is we can. There's always something that you can do. And if we develop that attitude, we're going to move forward. We're not going to drag our feet and move backwards.